Another Extra Bases with Bristol and Booth. Jeremy Booth remotely. I'm in studio. Jeremy. You know, you work for the Milwaukee Brewers, and sadly, Bob Uecker has passed away. I'm guessing you didn't have any interaction with Bob Uecker as an employee of the Brewers. Would that be a correct assumption?
No, I did.
Really?
Yeah, I had some interaction with him, and um, wasn't a ton, because he broadcast the big league club. He was only really around there. But I saw him at spring training a couple times, and I'd see him when we went to Milwaukee for draft stuff. And um, look, Bob Uecker had this energetic, unbelievable personality about him. One of the funnier human beings. I know that's going to sound like master of the obvious, but he was really genuinely funny. Like he always smiled and always had something to say. And the guy never seemed to have a bad day. Not that he didn't go through it, but he just never seemed to have a bad day. You know what I mean? He took his own shortcomings and made a career out of them. It was really good. And the thing about Uke is that if you spent 5 minutes with him, it felt like you spent a lifetime with him because he's the same guy every time you saw him. I really feel in this one, not so much for baseball because Uke has been a guy for baseball that everybody has had some kind of interaction with, but I feel for the Brewers. I feel for the Milwaukee Brewers because anybody who ever wore that uniform, and I wore it twice, um, he's just part of that legacy. He's part of that. Going to the ballpark tomorrow for those guys, whenever they go, and not seeing Bob Uecker there is going to be a little different. So, um, it's maybe he'll give us a dynamite drop in from the sky. I don't know. He's a funny dude, man. But he was fun to be around.
With apologies to Robin Yount, he's probably the most famous Milwaukee Brewer.
Yeah, I'd say so because he's lasted longer than Robin, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you got some pretty famous brewers in there. You got Raleigh Fingers, you've got
Mm-hmm.
Robin Yount, as you said, you've got Ben Ogilvy, Cecil Cooper, you've got
Ted
Gorman
Simmons.
Thomas,
Ted
Ted
Simmons.
Simmons, who I worked with a couple
Paul
times,
Molitor.
Paul Molitor. All these guys are brewers, and they were good brewers. It was good teams, but man, Bob Uecker, and then the guys that I played with a little bit, Billy Hall and Corey Hart and uh, man, who's the second baseman? Ricky Weeks for that long. I mean, those guys were Ben Sheets. Dan. It was an interesting crew over there, man. I mean, it really was. Bucky Jacobson. It was a lot of fun. Gabe Alvarez, Mark Johnson. I mean, he's got Chris Jones. Euchre was around everybody. Um, he was the Brewers in many ways. Just he kept everybody loose and happy. And so, um, again, it's really a tough day for Milwaukee. It's the rest of the league is going to smile and have fond memories. The Brewers are going to be hurting for a minute.
Better Euchre performance, Major League or Miller Lite commercials?
I'm going to go with Major League just because.
Really?
Yeah, because that's lasted so much longer too, right? I mean,
I don't know. The Miller Lite commercials are pretty good.
well, I
I
mean,
must be in the front row.
yeah, no, that was really good, but I don't know, man. Something about the way he carried those broadcasts in Major League, even though they were scripted, it was just perfectly done.
Just a bit outside.
Yeah, no, it was great. Um, Monio's broadcast school is really paying off. I mean, it's pretty good. I've used those lines a couple of times in our games. Stuff that we do.
I posted on X that I was just curious how Bob Uecker fared against Houston Astros Colt 45s, and he had his worst career average against any team against the Astros. Now, granted, it was only like 10 games. I think it was 048, and he hit worse than any other park, the Astrodome.
That's
And I could
fun.
just see, I would just love, I wish I could have asked him about that because that he would have said something hilarious about it.
He would have had a joke about it, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
um, we did mention last time about Justin Verlander leaving the Astros. And I think when you're talking about one of the greatest pitchers in baseball history, we probably should dive a little bit more into Verlander's legacy as an Astro. When you think of Justin Verlander in an Astros uniform and what he meant to that uniform, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
This is going to be sacrilegious to the question. Um, but I don't, when I think of Justin Verlander, now that his time in Houston has come to a close,
You think of him as a Tiger.
as a Detroit Tiger, I don't think of him as a New York Met. It's a stop. That's like thinking of Ricky Henderson as a Blue Jay. You know what I mean? Ricky Henderson Blue Jay was a year and a half, and that was it. I don't, well, know what, even better. That's like thinking of Ricky Henderson as a Red Sox or an Angel. You know what I mean? Something he did for half a second. Verlander, the Mets uniform. Um, the Astros are what are Ricky Henderson's Yankees. Okay. He's there for a few years. Ricky was what, 4 years in New York, maybe 85, 86, 87, 88, and half of 89. And Verlander was here 17, 18, 19, 20. Well, 20, I mean, 20,
Well,
yeah, 20,
20 he was 20 he missed most of the year with the or 21 he missed most of the year with the Tommy John.
he was hurt, right? So
Yeah.
you had half of 17, 18, 19, 20 was COVID, most of 21 with Tommy John, and then 22, right? And then he was a Met in 23, is that right? And he came back here. So you got 5 years. We got 18, 19, 20, 22, 24, right? You got the five and a half, and Ricky had about the same. Ricky Henderson will always live on as a Yankee, um, but he's in the Hall of Fame as an Oakland Athletic, right? And so when you look at Justin Verlander, for me, I can see him in the Astros uniform. He had great moments in the Astros uniform. Um, but I see the Justin Verlander that was throwing 102 miles an hour in the World Series in 2005 for the Detroit Tigers. That's just who I see. He's always going to be a Tiger for me. Um, when he goes in the Hall of Fame, it's going to be interesting because he won in Houston. He didn't win in Detroit. But my favorite Astros moment for Justin Verlander when I think of him um, is honestly the one he did in Philadelphia in the World Series. And I'll tell you why. It's not because it's the most recent postseason memory. Um, it's because he didn't have much left. He just didn't, and he gutted through it. And that was 22, wasn't it? That was
Yep.
22. So um, he just gutted through it, and we were able to kind of script it and predict it a little bit and talk about what they were going to do. And I think
Listen, he won 18 games though that year.
he did, but he still wasn't the same dude. It was the beginning of the other direction, right? You didn't have him for 9, you had him for 5, and you might have got him for 6 on a good night, and every now and again you get him for 7.
He was
But he was
also the Cy Young Award winner
I
and had an
understand.
ERA of 1.75.
I'm not putting down what he did during the regular season. I'm talking about his moments in the postseason when you narrow it down, not what he's doing against in the big leagues as a general rule. Because if he couldn't still perform, he's not there now, right? So he was performing and he was being really good, but in the postseason, we were counting. You remember, we were there. We were talking about 4 innings, 5 innings, 6 innings. What are we getting out of him? And we talked to James Click after that start. Remember that conversation. So to me, he put the demons behind him in the postseason that night. He arrived up on time with what he needed to. He gave his team a big start and he helped win the World Series that night. So um, for me, that's the moment. It's in Philly. It's in that environment with that crowd after McCullers had been tattooed and torched, I believe, the night prior, right?
No, that was
Um,
no, because Javier, right?
was Javier before or after Verlander in that series? Because McCullers was game 3 and got absolutely lit up. Remember, we were standing out, we were on the side in Minute Maid, and we were whatever that is, Shikan, Daikan, Rayanne, she's a Stan. I don't know what we're calling this thing now. The juice box, I don't know. Anyway, Minute Maid Park, um, at the time, man, that's gonna throw me
He
off.
pitched game 1 and game 5.
Okay, so
So
then
game 1 he lost.
game 1 he
And
lost in
obviously
Houston.
that just continues the chatter and this idea that he can't win World Series games. And then he comes back and wins game 5. They win 3-2. He goes 5 innings. He walks 4, strikes out 6, gutted it out.
That's what I'm talking about.
Gutted
That
it out. And then obviously the Astros are in the driver's seat and then they win game 6 at home and the
Valdez.
series over.
Fromber pitched game 6, right? So it was Javier pitched game 4. All right. So yes, because we were standing on the side at Minute Maid Park and we were calling it out, and they went Lance McCullers game 3. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I was like, what was that? And he went in there and got tattooed, shillelagh'd that night. I don't think he's taken the ball since, right? Since that outing. So, um, in any event, that moment for him, for the Astros, for what it meant for the World Series, that moment. Matter of fact, it's funny. It was on my desk.
Your press pin.
Yeah, it just as you said that, I looked out at my desk and there it is. Um, I don't know why it's sitting there, but it's there. So anyway,
I actually think of Verlander like this. The Astros had this sports car in 2017, and Verlander was the guy to either drive it or was the mechanic that put the final touches on it to tune it. Because remember, the Astros, Dallas Keuchel is critical of ownership and management, saying we need a guy. We need somebody, and it was that last minute trade with Detroit. Houston is going through Hurricane Harvey, and we get the best. When I say we, the city of Houston and its surrounding areas gets one of the best pitchers in the game, and then it was on. The Astros were a force to reckon with, and he, I believe, is the trigger to this golden era of Astros baseball. Without Justin Verlander, I don't know if we have it.
I agree that we don't have it without him. I think Jeff made some, look, Luno's already made some very good trades.
By the way, his numbers in 2017, he pitched 5 games in the regular season. He was 5-0 with an ERA of 1.06. He struck out 43, walked 5 in 34 innings, and allowed 4 earned runs. He was money. That is what, when you look at some of the great trade deadline acquisitions in baseball history, those are the kinds of numbers that you look for. That was an impact. That's the impact that Justin Verlander made on this club.
Um, it's funny because I should say this, I reconnected a little bit with Bill Furcus independently. And, I've asked him, not much, but listening to him, talk about the way that era ran, a little bit, just some of the things he said about it. When I go back at some of these conversations I've got now, which are light, Bill's a TrackMan, right? Bill's the president of TrackMan Baseball. And so we are going to interact with the stuff that we do with the Future Star series. And um, it's, it was a turning point year. There's no question about it. And they don't have that turning point year unless Verlander is there. So I agree with you. For me, having seen him forever and having been a player, albeit in a different place, but when he signed, when he was drafted, um, watching his career, I'll never forget the trip of going into Detroit, bro, going into Detroit, following the Royals. And I was there for 5 days, and somehow I saw, you know what it was? I think they piggybacked. I saw Rick Porcello, Anibal Sanchez, Justin Verlander, David Price, Max Scherzer. Is that 5? That's 5. And I was only there for 4 days. And, I mean, you were talking about rolling dudes out. It was like whack, whack, bang. I was like, Jack calls me and goes, "What do you got?" I said, "What do you think I got?" Man, let me tell you. He
It's
goes,
arguably one of the best starting staffs we've ever seen.
the absolute joke, to borrow the Tom McNamara term. It was an absolute joke we were watching. But I'll never forget that. Verlander was 91 in the first, and he was 102 in the ninth. It was great. It was great. So for me, he's always going to be that guy. That's the guy rolling out with the D, taking the ball on the mound, getting out there in Comerica with that type of club and absolutely shoving. That's who he's going to be. And it was nothing against what he did in Houston, because again, you're right. The Astros don't win without him, but he's a Detroit Tiger for me.
How many wins this season? If you are placing money over under, how many wins?
The Giants are a fourth place club in that division for me. Sasaki notwithstanding, who's obviously not going to land in San Francisco, right? And I guess they could fight for third, depending what Arizona does. But on paper, they're no better than third. No better than third. They're probably a fourth place club. 12, 12, 13.
I was thinking 10 to 12.
Yeah, I mean it's a win. Wins for me are a team stat.
I
I like
know.
and I like it, and I
But at
know that
this point in Verlander's career, though, wins are important because he is 38 away from 300.
for him, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably pitches 2 or 3 more years and gets it, believe it or not, because he's what is he 43 now? 43?
He is 41 right now.
41. So he'll pitch for two more
You
two.
love adding extra years to Justin
Yeah,
Verlander's
because
age.
again, I've seen him pitch forever, but if he pitches till he's 44, he's Nolan Ryan all over again. You know what I mean? Maybe not with that many wins, but today's age, it's a Nolan Ryan type comparison. And I will say this though. Um, the Giants need something to go with what's the shortstop they signed again? Was it Flores?
Adamas?
Adamas, that's right. We need somebody to go with Adamas. Um, Need some help. Him and Chapman, Verlander's a veteran presence. We'll see. 12, for me, if I'm Justin Verlander, if I'm the Giants or the rest of the league, I want to see holds. And I know they don't do that for starting pitching, but I want to see how many times he keeps me in the game after 5 innings. Get me five every night. Just keep me in the game after five. That's what you're there for.
I'd also like to say that one of my most memorable Justin Verlander experiences was Mrs. Verlander. Do you remember that, Jeremy?
I do.
My question was, well, here, you listen to it.
I honestly don't know his opinion on that, but for me,
Okay, for you.
yeah, I'm like, but for me, I'm so happy that he has it, but honestly, he's such a legend. Who cares?
Oh my goodness. Unfortunately, I didn't realize I was live on television at the time. I thought that, yeah, but here I am. Oh, that's so funny, Kate. Ha ha, ha. Oh, wait, I'm on? What? Anyhow, the international signing period. Any players that have played in the Future Stars series?
A
Um,
couple. I have to.
okay, who do we got?
Well, I haven't seen if they've signed yet, but
Okay,
Warren
so you probably
Calcano.
can't say then, right?
Yeah, but Warren Calcano, I heard, was going to be a Royal. And he was 14 when we had him, so that'd be about right. It's going to be a Royal from what I understood. That was a couple $1 million, I believe. Um, there was a pitcher who I think whose name has escaped me right now. Left-handers up to 94. Recently was 87, 89 at 14 years old, and we had him a couple years ago. I think that was 2+ million left-hander. So I got to go through the list. There's usually 10 or 12. Now, granted, we haven't been international in a little bit because of some of the developments that we had to
Oh
deal
boy.
with, but
Oh boy.
we will go
Before
back
we
this
get to
year.
that, though, before we get to that, did you see the Athletics
Know what they do.
signing two-way Japanese youngster Shotaro Mori? They paid 1.5 million.
That's the kid that passed up the NPB altogether, right? Yeah, no,
Apparently,
I did see that. I didn't realize it was the A's though. A's are, it's interesting. The A's leave Oakland, all of a sudden they start getting active. At least it certainly feels that way. They're going to go play in Sacramento for 3 years, and Severino's going to take the ball every night, so every fifth day. So that's
over the
good.
past 3 seasons in high school, Mori, who bats left but pitches right-handed, has displayed impressive power, hitting 45 home runs while displaying a smooth swing with impressive balance. He's already clocked as high as 95.
How do you do that and have missed the NPB? Never
I
heard
don't
of that.
know.
Interesting. All right. Well, good
All
for the
right.
A's. Sounds like a pretty good draft pick. I know he's a free agent sign, but it sounds like a good draft pick.
I mean, that's basically what's that the equivalent now? A second rounder?
Third.
Third?
Yeah.
Hey, why not?
All right.
Why not?
Yeah.
Probably higher upside than a lot of kids that you would get in the second or third round, potentially. Why not?
95 with that type of juice is pretty good as long as it plays. So
Yeah. Do you want to address your Facebook and social media posts about your JUCO event that is not happening, or are you just going to leave it at that?
let me say this before we get started. It feels like we're running into something every so often here now with us. And let me tell you this, you know what this means? It means irrelevant. because you got people really kind of gunning for you to get a piece of it or try to knock it down. I've had some people, and I even had some other people, and I want to say this too. I had some other people whose names I actually don't know. This is a real story. I don't know who these people are. Kind of circle around some staff that we've got here, and kind of mention some things. They're not fans of mine, and that's okay. Well, let me say it another way. They don't necessarily like me much. And you know me, Jason, that keeps me up at night. I get real frustrated with it. I don't know how to handle it. I kind of put my head into my pillow and I toss and turn and I wonder why they don't like me. Um, for those of you that can't pick up, that's sarcasm. Okay. If you don't like me and you're still watching, you're a fan. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time and your viewership. Still watching. Okay. So I don't really care what you think. How's that? How's that? I don't care. We have a comment section. You can rip, not, let me go. Oh, hold on. Don't do that. Comment section. You can rip me up. Say what you want. Jason will read it. I won't read it, but Jason will read it. And he may tell me about it. And then I'll laugh at you on camera, but we'll probably talk about it. Right. So feel free to do that. Now, with that, I'm not, and this is, I'm going to be professional about this. There's been some stuff. We dealt with the issue a couple years ago with some international improprieties that we had to walk away from, and or things we wanted to make sure that we had an understanding of and cleared. And we dealt with the Sports Authority and the Astros last year. That was strike two. We've got Sony. We dealt with that. I mean, it's been a fun couple of years, bro. A fun couple of years of people gunning for the Future Star Series name or leveraging it or trying to piggyback on this or get a piece, whatever. I don't care. I don't. I guess that means that we're doing something right. I guess it means we got something pretty good. That's the way I look at it. I'm choosing to look at it that way today. Tomorrow, I might spit some venom. Right now, I feel like this is a good way to look at it. This is the right way to do it. Now, we have a live stream provider whose name is going to remain nameless that felt he had rights to some of the schools that were in the event. I don't have a contract with that live stream provider, and I do have a contract with somebody else, but I decided not to live stream the event anyway. For those of you that don't understand, many of these live stream providers cost, at least what we do, because we're not a regional network, right? We're not paid every day for consistent content. That's not how this works. It costs us money. It costs us about 10 grand a day. And that can be a little less than that, but about 10 grand a day. I'm not paying $10,000 a day for 2 days for you to come, for people to stay home and all the costs to be on me. I don't know where we got that expectation from. I understand that I started this before Perfect Game TV. We were some of the first ones to live stream, maybe not the first, but some of the first ones. I don't know who the first was. I'm not doing that. I'm just not going to pay $30,000 out of my pocket to go do this. And if I did, I'd use my live stream provider where there'd be something coming back to me, not somebody I don't know. Anyway, to cut through all of that, we were threatened with a lawsuit. And the lawsuit said that we were committing tortious interference. Or not the lawsuit, but the threat said we're committing tortious interference, which is an actionable term because we were interfering with a standard of business, a business relationship. I had to do my homework. There's a business relationship there. It's not between me and this guy, or his group, rather. I mean, it's a man who owns the company. It's not between me and him. It's between him and the other groups, but they have to get clearance. At least that's what it was said to me. Or this guy had to sign off on it. Well, this guy didn't want to sign off. He said he didn't want to bend the knee to Jeremy Booth, which I don't get ever why somebody would say that. But that's what he said.
That is his right. That is his right. Not
yeah,
to
but
sign
I didn't say that. So I just said we're not going to do it. We're going to.
I don't know what happened, but from what you're saying, that is his right.
It's what I respected him as a business, and here's why I respected him as a business. And this is where the Sports Authority and the Astros, and by the way, a couple of you have commented that you don't want to. I don't care what you think about this. Happened. I'm going to talk about this because this happened. It's the truth.
I've not seen those comments.
That's because they've been made privately. Oh well, why is he talking? I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care what you think. That's the point. Are you talking about it? Those of you asking why I'm talking about it, are you listening? Are you talking about it? That's the point right there. That's why. Okay. Because you can't, because I know this actually, me going through this saved another business. Now it may have hurt 8 junior colleges and our guys, but I'm not the one that brought it up. I didn't bring up the legal term, tortious interference, and I didn't say, hey, you know what? You're going to pay me to do your event, or you're going to pay me not to do your event, but you're going to pay me one way or the other. Really? Okay. We're going to go paper this thing and we're going to do this a different way. And it's a great schedule, Jason. It's a great reboot. And I'm so thankful for all the people around us that have helped us do that. But the hard part was because of the Astros and the Sports Authority, I refused to do what they did to me. I just refused to do it. And I honored this guy's request because that's the right thing to do. That's not empty words, right? Somebody looked at me with empty words and with malice and said, I'm going to do the right thing.
Oh, I shouldn't have gone down this road,
Hold
Jeremy.
on, hold on. But that stuck with me. And the right thing to do for this guy was to listen to his concern. And I did. And I tried to address it. I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to hurt anybody else. Try to listen to his concern. In the end, he had the right to do what you said. He had the right to say, no, I'm not going to sign this. He did. So the event was postponed. That's
All
it.
right.
Now we'll do it again. We'll reboot it and we'll keep going. I feel bad for the players. I have a remedy for them and we'll get there. But as far as the kickoff of this year, it wasn't there.
Okay.
This guy relented at the very last minute. It was too late to do anything, so we move on. That's it. But we'll get it going back, and I believe in being transparent. So we are being transparent. That's what happens. So there we go. That's it.
All right. Hall of Fame ballot. That will be next week. I'm assuming and expecting Ichiro, CC Sabathia. No?
Keep going. Maybe.
Billy Wagner.
I think Wags is a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he gets in.
Ichiro is no doubter.
Write it down.
I mean, I like David Wright. I like some of these other players, but they're not halls.
Read me the ballot. Read me the ballot. I get 10 choices, right? Let's do that before we go. Read me the ballot. Who's first?
Trying to get it. The one that's really interesting is Felix Hernandez.
Yep.
Here it is.
All right.
Bobby Abreu.
Stays on the ballot, but no.
Carlos Beltran.
Ooh. Without 2017, yes. So I say it stays on the ballot, but no.
Mark Burley.
No, off the ballot.
Carlos Gonzalez.
No, off the ballot.
Curtis Granderson.
No, off the ballot.
Felix Hernandez.
No, but stays on the ballot.
Torrey Hunter.
No, but stays on the ballot for a couple more years.
Andrew Jones.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
No, but stays on the ballot.
Ian Kinsler.
Off the ballot.
Russell Martin.
Off the ballot.
Brian McCann.
Off the ballot.
Dustin Pedroia.
Yes.
Andy Pettit.
On the ballot, but no.
Hanley Ramirez.
Off the ballot.
Manny Ramirez.
See, I think Manny gets in. At least he should.
I think he should. Fernando Rodney. Alex Rodriguez.
See, so let me stop you there. Rodney's off the ballot for me. Rodriguez should stay on the ballot, but he won't. And the reason why is because those of you that never saw A-Rod before all the bad stuff, when I tell you he was ridiculous, he was one of the top 5 talents I've ever seen in my life. And those would be Bonds, Josh Hamilton, Ken Griffey Jr., Ichiro Suzuki, and Alex Rodriguez. Hitters, position players. That's pretty good. Well, Ricky Henderson's different era. In this era, he would be those 5. Go ahead.
Francisco Rodriguez.
No.
Jimmy Rollins.
On the ballot, but no.
CC Sabathia.
On the ballot, but no.
Ichiro.
Absolutely.
Troy Tulowitzki.
On the ballot, but no.
Chase Utley.
On the ballot, but no.
Omar Vizquel.
I mean, O's in for me defensively. I think he's one of the best defenders to play the game, period, any position. I know he had the issue before, but for me, I'm voting for Omar Vizquel.
Billy Wagner.
I'm voting for Wags.
David Wright.
No.
Ben Zobrist.
No. How many did I vote for?
I don't remember.
8.
I think I would do Ichiro.
Yep.
Felix Hernandez.
Yep.
Dustin Pedroia. Manny.
Yep.
Alex.
That's 4.
Billy Wagner.
5.
I'd have to look at the others. I mean, I'd have to really deep dive into the others. So
there's probably 6 or 7 guys that deserve to get in there. Kinsler apologies to Ian before I say. I mean, really, I'm sorry before I say this. Kinsler is a poor man's Dustin Pedroia. He was a good player. He wasn't quite what Pedroia was. Pedroia won some World Series. Pedroia did it in a tougher environment. Pedroia had a better career. He's Hall of Famer.
Yeah. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for Extra Bases. As always, leave your questions, concerns, leave your picks for the Hall of Fame, because by next time, we'll have a new class. So, there you go. For Jeremy, I'm Jason. As always, thanks for listening. And this has been Extra Bases.